Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special segment of the Millionaire Power Couple Summit. I am so excited. I have an amazing group of women that we're just going to have a transparent dialogue about some issues that we may face when you're married and you're working in business. So we've got some dynamic women that are going to be transparent in their journey in order to have successful marriages and successful business owners. So I'm going to take a moment right now, have each woman introduce herself and let you know a little bit about who she is and what she's doing. All right, Kimberly, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. I am Kimberly Cleveland, the Good Thing Guru. I help single women become and wives be that good thing. Scripture says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And so I really am on that mission to help single women prepare for marriage, become amazing wives, and set the foundation for successful marriages. And I also help wives who need to take their wife skills to the next level.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kimberly. And I guess Kimberly's being modest. She does have her own TV show. Kimberly, did you want to take a moment and tell them about your TV show?
Absolutely. My TV show is on Exposure Network through Mogul TV. I have a show called Becoming That Good Thing, where I welcome in relationship experts, marriage experts, and we talk about everything marriage and relationship related. So yes, I'm so excited about the show. It's been awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so next we have Miss Trell Ravenel. Trell, you want to introduce yourself to our amazing viewers?
Hello, amazing viewers out there. So excited to be in this space. I am Trell Ravenel, a certified life and relationship coach. I specialize in helping wives and couples to win in their marriage against all odds. Yes, I am that rare breed that believes that marriage can get through, overcome anything that they're faced with. And I teach them the skills, the strategies, and the techniques on how to do that by focusing on the solutions, not necessarily the problem, not negating it, but our focus is on what solutions do we need to implement so that we can overcome and win together. Excited to be with you all and look forward to an amazing conversation.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us, Trell. Next, we have the amazing Jill Bullock. Jill, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Well, hello. As she mentioned, my name is Jill Bullock, and I work with high achieving single women to help them to create a life they love and attract and keep the love of their life. We do this through personal and spiritual development is the foundation of what we do to help them to manifest that vision of that amazing Christ-centered marriage.
Ooh, all right now, Jill. So we're next up, we have the amazing Dr. Harriet Roberson. Harriet, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for including me. I am so honored and so humbled to be here with these amazing ladies. Well, I'm Dr. Harriet Roberson, and I am a founder of the WIN Network, the Women's Empowerment Network, as well as Great Marriages Rock. And I'm just so excited to share my knowledge of being married 40 years. And I think I have a little bit I can share. And also I have a TV show. It's called Conversations with Dr. Harriet. I'm on every Tuesday at 7 and on Saturdays at 12 noon. And I have some amazing guests. We're actually on the Power Network, www.powernetworktv.tv. And amazing guests. And I actually would love to have some of you ladies on here too. Let's talk about marriage. I love it. And Dr. Hylick has been on my show, and it's always amazing. So thank you again for this invitation.
All right. So next we have Oksana Tatterby. Oksana, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Good morning, everyone. I'm really honored to be here and to meet all of you wonderful ladies. So I go by Oksana, the Legacy Coach. And not only do I work with my husband in business because we have a multimedia company, but personally, I take my clients through what I call the Legacy Lifestyle course. So it's comprised of 3 different parts. We have the mentorship program, which is where I help people to develop a legacy mindset. I also have, books and resources that I've written to assist with that process. And then we have the branding. So I help them to actually build the brand for their business, go over their business plan and all that good stuff. And then finally, I help them to, as they're making more money, to manage their finances. And I do, financial consulting and, things of that nature, legacy planning. So that's what I do.
Wow. Now, if for those of you that are watching, look at all of these amazing women in the room, all the skills and talents that they are bringing, and all the years of experience. And when you hear them introducing themselves, you can hear the passion in their voices, the level of commitment and dedication to helping people build solid marriages, build successful businesses, and build generational wealth. And that's the purpose of this entire summit. So, one of the questions that I just wanted to throw out there, you hear some of the ladies saying, okay, I'm in business, and some of them are in businesses and in business with their spouses. Does anyone want to share, how is it being a couple and being in business with your spouse? What's one of the greatest tips that you can give to someone that, or to a woman or wife that's in business? And then we'll touch upon the couple part. Anyone care to go first? Now, we know the women here are not shy.
Start off. I'm not actually in business with my husband, but my husband is supportive of everything that I do. But I feel like that because we are partners in life, that he is a part of my business. So everything that we're talking about today, I use in my personal life with my husband in marriage, because again, we may not actually be in business together, but we are partners. So, and it's just a thing of, I just say that communication is the main thing. We have to communicate. We have to talk about everything. Even the things that are not so nice, the things that are painful, that budgeting word that B word that I hate so much. And I think that all the ladies know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, communication, I think, is the main thing that we have to be, conscious of. Like I say, even married 40 years, we're still in progress. We're still learning each other, and we're still open to learn.
Wow. I like to piggyback off of what Dr. Harriet said. I'm not in particular in business with my husband either. However, we each have our own businesses and we each support one another, as you mentioned as well, Dr. Harriet. One thing I feel that is very important is identity. Knowing who you are as an individual. I know a lot of times when couples get married, even if you had a business beforehand or acquired one while in marriage, you tend to take on the identity of the other person, and you get involved and so engulfed with what they're doing, and you can lose yourself. So it's very important, whether you're in business together or you have your separate businesses, that you know who you are, that your identity is secure and you don't get lost in what the other person is doing.
Now, Charles, you're making a good point there. So what suggestion would you have to that wife who may have her own business, or the husband has his own business, and she may find herself losing her identity in her spouse? What suggestion would you, and this is open to other panelists, I'm just starting with Trell because she mentioned the point, what would be the suggestion that you would have for that particular woman or that wife?
Absolutely. Well, I would first have her to just take a step back and to really look at what her individual purpose is. She may have gotten into the marriage and may have started or, joined her husband because that's something he may have wanted to do. That was his passion, and being a supportive and submissive wife, she felt like she, had to go along with it. Not really thinking about, is this what she wants to do? So I would want to have a conversation with her to really get clarity on her individual goals. Is this what you want to do? And it's okay if it's not, right? It's okay if you don't necessarily share the same passion or the same level of passion with your husband. That does not mean that you don't support him. That does not mean that you're not being submissive, toward him or in the marriage relationship. So I would really help her to seek clarity on her purpose, on her individual goals, and then show her how she can still do her thing, right? And still support and be, in the marriage along with her husband.
All right. Anybody else care to comment?
I would love to comment. I love where Trinell led us, and that's really where I start with my ladies, my single women that I coach, is really focusing in on what is your purpose, right? Because there is a purpose for marriage, but you need to know your purpose first. You need to have that healthy sense of self-identity. And many women don't, they've been on a path to get their education, pick out the career. And a lot of time that's led by their parents and their family members, but they really haven't sat down and gotten quiet and asked themselves, what really brings me joy? What really is my passion? What gifts and talents has God blessed me with? And what do I think he's leading and guiding me to do? What is my purpose? And I think, as it's been said, that when you have a purpose yourself, you know who you are, then you can begin to define, okay, what is my mate? You know, when you talk about a mate, it's something that's a match, whether it's, you know, the salt and the pepper, it's a match. You can't really determine who you're the best mate for unless you have a self identity, unless you know your purpose. So it's really critical, like she says, that you have a good identity, self-identity, and you know your purpose. And I would also say, even after you get married, oftentimes you have to go back and reevaluate that, right? It doesn't always stay the same. As we go through marriage, there are shifts, there are different seasons that we go through. And in that, you continue to grow and develop. Your purpose may also shift, right? So it's important that you always take evaluations along the way.
Awesome. Now, Jill, you also work with single women. So I'd love to hear your feedback on that as well.
Absolutely. Well, definitely what Kimberly said, I definitely agree about having that purpose and having that vision. And going back a little bit to working with our husbands and him being a partner with us, if you will, I don't necessarily work with my husband in business like that. However, he is absolutely a silent investor. And even though we don't necessarily, work with our spouses in business, they do become that silent investor, rather investing cash, rather contributing in different ways. My husband is a world-class photographer, and he takes his time to support our event. So we have an event, he's the residential photographer. He gives me at least one individual photo shoot at least every year. He was sometimes even more, just depending, and all that really matters. And I think in the midst of that, as he's out doing his thing and I'm out doing my thing, we have to remember, like Trell said, is keeping our identity, but also resisting the urge to compete with each other, understanding that we are collaborating, we are partners at the end of the day. And when we have that solid foundation of self, we have that solid foundation of our purpose and our vision, when we come in that marital union, or even when we're already in the marital union, we won't get lost in seeing their achievements. Because the truth of the matter is, you may see your partner raising to higher heights perhaps before you do, and be at a whole different level. And again, I'll just speak in my marriage right now. My husband has had the opportunity to photograph. I mean, I could name drop so many people you guys would know, and you'd be like, oh my God, and I just am so grateful to God that he's opening those doors of opportunity. And half the time I don't even be there to enjoy those photo shoots, although I begin to plug like, listen, I'm still available for an assistant, just to let you know. So also I want to say that is finding ways to plug in, even when you're not in that actual marriage, finding ways to plug in with one another, business to contribute. Like I said, I'm on the wait list right now for assistant photography for the next big gig. So, we'll see what happens.
And then to that, Jill, I want to just say something about partnership. When you look at the word partnership, there's the primary word there, part. So in order for you to be in a partnership, you have to play your part, play your role, whatever that may look like for you, and just being clear on what that looks like, right? And willing to give of yourself, giving of your time, your talent, your money, or whatever that may be to support that individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, something you guys are saying, and I want to pull on Oksana a little bit, because my husband and I had the opportunity to be on her husband's TV show, and we literally got the opportunity to witness the two of them working together, where he may have been in the foreground. He was actually doing the interview, but I was literally sitting there watching, and she was like the hand moving, orchestrating all these parts together. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you needed that and that. And she was just flowing. I was just like, honey, look at all of that. Is amazing. So Oksana, I'm going to pull on you a little bit. Can you share with your experience of how you were able to do that, or how that, let's just have you get your input.
Well, let me first start off by saying this. Where we are now is something we had to develop into. It doesn't just necessarily happen. You know what I mean? When we first got married, and I think our situation is a little bit different in the sense that we started off working together before we got married. So we kind of had that foundation of looking at marriage, or at least an aspect of marriage, as a business, right? So there are times when you're going through the process of figuring out, okay, how do I take my purpose and his purpose and we merge it together for the common good of the family and for the legacy that we're trying to build. And then you have to go through all of these compromises and constantly checking egos, checking pride, making sure that the most important thing is what's good for the family, what's good for the legacy, what's good for the marriage. And I think as we gave each other time and space to discover more about ourselves and about our individual purposes, we actually saw how they came together. And so we built a company around the different avenues that both of us are good in, so that we could complement each other and still build as a family. And I do appreciate that about my marriage so much, because no matter what, we've developed this, what's the word I'm looking for? This culture in our household of, no matter what, we're still going to work to get this done. I cannot like you right now. You cannot like me right now. But when it comes to what we're doing, this is what's important, And so I think it takes time to build up to that. But once he gave me space to be who I was, I gave him space to be who he was. What we actually ended up creating together, we realized that it complemented each other so well. And so we found ways to use our gifts and our skill sets to complement each other in business.
And I think that's really important, because you have couples that flow in different spaces. Like for the longest, I was strictly, I called the 9 to 5. I was working in corporate America. My husband was in corporate America, but he always had the entrepreneurial mindset, even back to when we were in college. And yeah, we were living together. He started his own computer business out of our apartment, like literally building computers from scratch inside of our apartment. And we had wires all around it, connecting computers from this room to that room. And it was driving me nuts, because I'm a clean freak, but I had to learn, this is something that he's passionate about. So we had to even learn how to compromise, how to work together in that aspect, because as much as I wanted it clean, I didn't want to impact him flowing in his gifts and talents and his purpose. So we had to learn how to start back then, even when we were in college and we were working together on his businesses. And, my mindset was more so of a corporate America, but I had to learn to be able to support him in his endeavors. And now that I'm able to flow fully in entrepreneurship, my mindset is different, but he had to be patient with me till I could actually understand, his passion. So just because his passion wasn't necessarily my passion, I was still passionate about seeing him succeed, if that makes sense. So I had to learn to work with him in that aspect. So has anyone else had to, or struggled with, say, a conflict with, as far as, supporting their spouse and their endeavors, perhaps because your mindset was different?
I have.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so starting off, we originally were working on, Tatamy Media, which is a multimedia company. So that was what we were working on. But then all of a sudden one day he was like, hey, I have this idea. I want to do this show, right? And I'm just like, okay. So, and especially because, he, still working in corporate America, but also having a business, and then me being a full-time entrepreneur. So it's a very interesting dynamic. But it was a lot of adjusting, because, it was something new. So it's like, okay, well, what is it that you want to do? And how can I help you with that? And so, it kind of became an interesting pull between what we were currently doing and then what he's trying to do that's new, and then trying to figure out how, I can budget my time accordingly. So that was a little bit difficult at first, but we kind of are, finding a flow with that now.
And I can speak to that. It's not necessarily having an issue supporting my husband's vision, but I just want to speak a little bit to just different personalities when it comes to business or when it comes to vision. My husband is an extreme extrovert and I'm an introvert. He's a creative. So he's very spontaneous. Oksana probably can relate to this, very spontaneous. If he wants to do something, he's going to do it. He takes huge risks. He doesn't mind taking risks. He's not scared of anything. So me just having to be, be more accepting to that and embracing that, because I'm more of the careful one, and I'm going to analyze and I'm going to, strategize. But sometimes, things that he desires to do when it comes to business, he's all in, and I'm the one that will pull back. So I just had to learn to trust him Trust him, trust his decisions, trust his judgment, look at his track record and seeing that he's never steered us wrong. And if he did, he was quickly able to correct it. So I believe it takes a lot of trust with that, you know, with our spouses and being able to support their visions and goals. Because if you see them doing something and it's always failing, or, you know, they're always on the wrong path, or they're always connecting with the wrong people, then you will be hesitant in trying to support that individual. So I believe that that's important.
Wow.
Dr. Hylick, I wanted to just throw in really quick too that
Okay.
my situation is a little different because my husband's retired. So I have to maneuver how to, you know, allow him to be retired and still do everything I do. So I just, it can't be that all of our vacations surround conferences, or, I have to really be careful to make sure that he is enjoying his retirement. I mean, he worked for 35 years. So, I want him to be able to enjoy his time, but yet I still have all of my stuff going on, not only business, but ministry and, social life. So a lot of things going on. So again, I think that's an area that we need to be careful of to allow them to be them and allow them to have, like I said, his retirement, enjoy his retirement, and without being all about me and my business and my ministry.
Wow. That's good.
I also wanted to weigh in. I think, again, when we talk about differences, is that it's really about mindset, as you've said, is that we have to have a mindset that differences is not always negative, right? That God created us to be male and female. He distinctly made us different. And I think when you go into a marriage, and I teach my women, is that you have to look at those differences as a positive. Don't look at them as a negative. And that really should be your mindset. How can our differences work to our advantage? And when you embrace that, it really makes the flow easier. And I think, as it's been said, you have to find that balance. You have to find the balance of his personality and your personality, and come to a compromise and find the flow for you. And keeping it focused on, as you said, the mission. Oksana said the mission. What is our mission? What are we here to do as a couple? What are we trying to accomplish in our marriage as a family? What is the legacy? And that always brings you back. That's the focal point whenever, you kind of have those differences and things kind of get a little rocky, to bring it back to, hey, let's get back and focus on the vision and what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's something I've helped wives to do, and I'm glad you said that, Kimberly, is, couples writing that mission statement or even a vision statement for their marriage. And that can be what they go back to. So when there is a heated fellowship moment, as I like to call it, or some conflict that will arise, you go back to the mission statement, go back to the vision statement. Listen, I don't like you, like Oksana said, I don't like you right now, but we have to get this done. This is what we promise ourselves, right? This is what we promise our community. This is what we promise our children. So this is our purpose together in the earth, and we must get it accomplished against all odds.
Yeah. Now, something that Oksana said that really resonated with me. She said, what is it you want to do, and how can I help? And I think that's one of the greatest things that we as women can do. How can I help? Because we all have different gifts and talents. One of the things, even when I'm flowing in different areas with women, my husband, like, technology is his background. So I'll tell him, honey, I'm struggling to get this done. So either he'll try to do it or connect me with someone who can. And I think that's one of the greatest things, to hear your spouse say, how can I help? I think that relieves a lot of the, I don't want to say stress or fear, but when you're handling, if you have a vision and your purpose, and it may, this is not what he's called to do, but he does have gifts and talents that he could utilize to help you or to help propel you forward. I think that's a blessing. And I want to share this with you. My husband and I were at a wedding. Was it last weekend? I believe it was like last weekend. And I thought it was so interesting. I've never seen this happen at a wedding before. The pastor, they gave their own vows, and she had on her engagement ring, but he bought 2 additional rings for her. And he removed her engagement ring, and he put a ring behind that. And he said, this ring is my promise to always push you forward into your purpose. And then,
awesome.
and then then he had the engagement ring, and then another ring he gave her, he put in front of it. And he said, "This is my promise to always protect you, to lead you and guide you according to God's word." Because he talked about praying for her. And that just resonated in my spirit. When I heard him say that, I was like, I never even thought about that. You know, a husband's perspective saying, "I'm going to promise to push you into your purpose." So he's respecting, he's a pastor, and I know that she has several businesses. I don't recall that she was in ministry. I could be wrong, so don't hold me to that. But that was just amazing to hear her husband say this, and he bought her a ring to symbolize that. So every day when he looks at that, that's a reminder, I'm going to push you into your purpose. So even if we're mad at each other, even if we're disagreeing, you know, even if it's just one of those days, I'm going to push you into your purpose. So that just really, really resonated. And I wanted to share that with you guys.
I love that.
Dr. Sakeisha, that actually reminds me of, I'm sorry, that actually reminds me of, I think about Tabitha and Chance. I don't know if you guys heard about that whole situation, but it created a bit of an uproar that she retired her husband. I don't know if everybody's perspective on that, but the thing with that was like, she felt like for the last 15 years, he had been, you know, putting his life on the line, being a cop. She made an agreement with him saying, "Hey, babe, I just need 5 years and I'm going to make it big and do all this great things." Well, it took her 3 times that time. But then once she was able, you know, they got to the financial place that he did not need to work anymore. She said, "Okay, well, I'm going to create this space. You created this space for the last 15 years for me to do what I needed to do to get to this point and for us to get to this point. Now I want to, you know, reciprocate that. I want to hold up to my end of the bargain and bless you in that way that you also can pursue your goals and pursue your dreams," which also just put an interesting spin on the whole gender roles. So I thought that was an interesting perspective. Personally, if I can go ahead and share, I don't have an issue with that because I said, I understand, like for many years, a lot of times our husbands are that investor and they are that supporter. And they're the ones that say, how can I, you know what I'm saying? How can I help you with this? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with us, you know, providing that same type of love and grace and saying, "Hey, how can I help you now?"
You know what? For me, I totally agree. From my personal perspective, regardless, it's going into the same account. You supported me and my vision, so of course I'm going to turn around and support you. I don't think it has to be that he has to be bringing X number of dollars into the household. If she's got them at a place where he can leave the job, he sacrificed for her to be able to get to that point in her life. They had an agreement. They talked about it. So I personally don't have an issue with her holding up that end of the bargain, saying, "Hey, I've gotten to this point. You sacrificed. Now you can focus on what you want to do, and I'm going to support you." I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm not sure how everyone feels about it. You guys care to chime in? Anybody
Look,
have a
I'm
different
here
perspective?
I'm here for that.
And that's the law of reciprocity. When you look at it, that's the law of reciprocity. But here again, you have to consider each other's mindset and individuals' mindset when you look at that. We know that Tab and Chance are a kingdom couple as well. So you have to look at their belief system. You have to look at their values, what they believe in, what they practice, what they teach. You know, and I wanted to, before we go off the how can I help, I wanted to just go back really quickly just to say this. You know, we saw how Tab demonstrated that. But even when you ask a question, how can I help, or you want that question asked, you have to make sure you have the capacity, the time, and the energy and space to help. You know, as women in particular, a lot of times we're giving our time, energy, our money, and things to other people, including our kids. I can speak to that because I have a grown son with a wife. So a lot of times we will give everything to those kids, everything to everyone else. So when our husbands come to us and need our help, you know, we don't have anything to give. So we want to make sure that we do have that and be clear on what help we need. You know, don't just say, "Oh, he should know I need help." I was working with a wife one time and she said, "Oh, my husband doesn't support me," and da 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 da. And I said, "Well, okay, show me what support looks like." She couldn't even describe what that looks like, but yet he allowed her, you know, or gave her the space, not so much to allow. I know sometimes those words can sound negative, but he gave her the space to run her own business. She went to every vending event. She was there and he was home with the kids. And I had to let her, I said, "Look at this. Let's look at this. And you tell me what you see." And she was like, oh my God, he does support me. I said, correct. You have to be clear on the support that you need and be clear on the help that you're asking him for. So I wanted to say that before we moved on.
No, but that's really, really powerful. Just making sure that, and for them to ask, okay, how can I support you? When he lays out how he needs help, you can figure out if this is something that I can do. I'm willing to do this. This is something you need. I may not be in the position to do that right now, but then you can always find, if you can in your budget, hire somebody, contract someone out to help in that part of business so that that need is being met, So when I'm saying, how can I help you? Finding out what is it that he needs assistance with, and then what you can do, absolutely. But what you can't do or what's too much, see what you can delegate, what you can hire to somebody to do, or contract somebody to do. That would help take the pressure off so he can focus on what he's called to do. But somebody else was getting ready to say something. I don't want to.
I was.
No, I think I was
Okay,
saying,
I'm sorry.
go ahead,
Dr. Harriet.
Oh, no, I was just saying that I love the fact that he bought her extra jewelry. That's a nice reminder.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Can we just comment on the fact that she says she has a grown child with a wife and she looks like
24 years old. He's 24 years old. Yep.
Wow.
Doesn't look like
You know what they
right?
say. You know what they say.
I just wanted to add to the conversation one piece that I think as a lot of times women don't take a look at is that it's a heavy responsibility for a man to be a provider, right?
Oh my God.
And to be protecting his family, nurturing his family and his wife. And so, when you brought up the example of Tabitha and Chance, in my spirit, I'm like, how dare I rob him of that? If all those years he has been the provider, right? He has been the one who has been behind us as women to foster me and nurture me and be there to support my dreams and goals and purpose. How dare I now at this time where I've reached that and I can now turn and do the same for him? How dare I not, regardless of what you think the gender roles are, that's me now demonstrating my love and respect and honoring him as the man, as the provider that has done this all these years. And so, again, there's nothing wrong. And I'm actually saying, no, you should, because a lot of times, I do hear that from a man's perspective that, a man wanted to buy a boat. And the wife was like, no, I don't think you should buy a boat. He was like, well, wait a minute. I've been here all these years. You've been at home. You've never had to work. Every cruise and vacation you wanted to go on, I provided. I put our kids through school. And now that they're out of the house and I want to buy a boat, it's an emphatic no. Like, wow. What does that say about me and what I represent and what I've done? So again, I think a lot of times we really, again, that mindset.
Wow.
And another thing, Dr. Hylick, I think about that we spend too much time worrying about what other people think.
Thank you. That's
it. They word drives me so crazy because I'm like, who is the they? Who are the they people? Who are the people that sit back and judge us and have no idea about our life? And, I just thought it was just such a big deal that, why is everybody in these people's business? If that's what works for them, it works.
Come on.
Yeah. And so, again, we just have to, remind our couples that what works for you may not work for the next person. So it's all about you and your marriage. And we need to remind people, just stay out of my business, whether it's family or friends. You do you and let us do us.
There you go.
I think there will be more marriages that are together today that broke up because they worried about the day.
Right.
I think it's really, okay.
As a life coach, I think that's our responsibility, right? It's not there to exactly tell them exactly what they should be doing or judging what they should be doing, but helping them get to the life that they desire and just helping them navigate how to get there.
Yeah. I think it's really important to understand that we can't allow what's going on around us, all the noise, all what others are saying to impact what's going on the inside of us and on the inside of our relationship. So many times we're allowing external influences to cross those boundaries that should be between, you and your husband. Some people, oh, he should take out the garbage, you should do the dishes, different things like that. I'm like, look, my husband's better at organizing it. I'll take out the trash any day. That doesn't make me any less of a woman. That
Right.
means I
Amen.
recognize what I can handle better.
Do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Why
Right.
walk past it? Do that. You have to have that mindset.
Yeah.
Do what needs to be done. Plenty of times I come home, my husband is the one cooking. He will go to the grocery store, buy the groceries, bring the groceries in, and cook the groceries. Do what needs to be done. Period.
Thank you.
Good.
Oksana, I think you were saying something. Was it Oksana?
Yeah, my perspective on that, well, I have a lot of things to say about that, but my perspective on that is this. For my husband and I, we definitely had a lot of days to deal with. First of all, like we're, almost a decade apart in age. That was the first thing. Oh, why are you marrying somebody so young? And da 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 da. And all this other stuff that people would say. Oh, well, you should be doing this, and he should be doing that, and oh, he should, put his dream to the side and just focus on corporate America, and you should do this. And you have all these other voices that are trying to dictate what you do with your life, but it doesn't work that way. In marriage, I like to look at it this way: you have the fundamentals, and then you have the variables. So the fundamentals are, what has been established and proven that is necessary for a relationship, for a marriage to thrive and to work. But then you have the variables, the customizations that you make to your own relationship that makes it work for you guys, because you're both different people from two different backgrounds, two different mentalities and ways of thinking. So you have to literally like join together and become a new unit. And so I think when you understand that, yes, there are things that are necessary for the marriage to thrive, but we also have the space and the freedom to customize it and to be who we are. I think it's so liberating mentally and emotionally and spiritually, because you realize you don't have to conform to people's expectations for your marriage. And another thing I wanted to say really quick was that for us, as far as what works for us, we had an understanding when we got married that, okay, if your job is provision, my job is going to be increase. You're not going to be the only one out here, building for this family. So, my way of supporting is to bring in increase. If you look at Proverbs 31, she wasn't just sitting on her behind all day. She was enterprising. She was making investments. Right. She was making money, doing things, providing for her family, making sure that they had food to eat, caring for the servants. Let's highlight that she had servants, she had help. Let's highlight that part. She wasn't doing it herself.
There you go.
There you go.
that. But, so just do what works for your marriage and understand that, both of you guys have a role to play and both roles are extremely necessary and significant.
That's awesome. That's it. I kind of want to just piggyback and I echo that the fact that everybody's marriage may not look the same. What works for one couple may not work for another one. And that doesn't mean that this marriage is any more valuable than this marriage. We've got to figure out what our gifts and talents are and what works for us and just be mindful of it. I just honestly want to encourage couples just to make sure whether you're in marriage, you're a business owner, whether you're in business together, you have individual businesses, one's in corporate America, find what works for you, but get clear. And, a lot of times I talk about that get clear analogy where I break down the CLEAR and we talk about gaining clarity and loving yourself and expressing what you expect and things of that nature. But just be mindful that you have a plan, the two of you together, for what works for you. Too many times we're allowing externals to impact what's going on inside our household. And that's causing division, that's causing strife. And look, we got to think about our purpose, what God has called us to do. And just because they didn't call this person to do it, doesn't mean that they should have a say in what you do in your marriage and what you do in your business and what you're doing, what the two of you decide on. So that's just something that I wanted to put out there. But I did want to ask everyone if you have some closing remarks, just a takeaway that every one of our listeners, they're like, if you don't remember anything I said, I want you to remember this. Could everyone just take a moment, take 30 seconds or so, and just give each one of our listeners a key takeaway, because this is an amazing conversation. I really want to keep it going. But I'll start.
Oh, go ahead, Oksana.
Oh, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay. I'm
Okay.
sorry. So the key takeaway that I just want to leave with everyone, this has definitely been a juicy conversation, and we can have this all day, I'm sure, a week, all month, and it's definitely needed. So for those, whether you're in business with your spouse or not, remember 3 key things that's going to help you to win and to thrive in that marriage and business relationship. And that's mutuality, freedom, and reciprocity. Mutuality, the power of agreement, making sure that you're in agreement with one another. Now, being in agreement doesn't always mean that you're going to want to do exactly what your spouse is doing, or you are agree with their way, but just learning how to agree to disagree. Also, the freedom, give your spouse the freedom to be who they are. Don't try to change them. Don't try to use manipulation tactics or being deceitful. Just give them the space and freedom to be who they are. And then allow reciprocity. You give what you get. So I believe in 100 and 100. I don't believe in the 50-50 mechanism. And when I say 100 to 100, you give 100% of what you have, and your spouse does the same, in whatever that may look like. So that's what I would want to leave with everyone today.
Awesome. Okay, who's next?
All right, I'll go next. I was gonna wait, but I'll go next. I was taking notes and like coming up with all these great C's, so I'll try to make this as clear, as concise as possible. But if you can boil this down to a couple of C's, I would say, just to reiterate what the panelists already said, you have to be in the place that you're willing to contribute and thinking about how can I help, what can I do, being in that place of being willing to compromise. What am I willing to give up or at least delay in the season this time? And another C is communicate. As you mentioned, it's so important that we express what are those expectations and start having that negotiation, ideally before marriage, but even in our marriage. So we know, okay, who's doing what, and we have a mutual understanding of how we're going to move forward in this relationship. So the 3 C's, compromising, contributing, and communication, are major keys to your marital success and being a millionaire power couple that you already are, but just embracing it to another level.
Awesome. Who's
I'll go
Who'd
next.
to? All right, Kimberly.
The one thing I want to leave everyone with is have the hard conversation. I want to start right where Dr. Harriet started us off with. It's really important that you have great communication with your spouse, right? One, first, that you are a good communicator, and that you also have good communication with your spouse. When you're talking about becoming a millionaire power couple, it really starts there, because communication affects everything else in the relationship. And so if you don't have great, healthy communication, it's really just going to trickle down. And I just want to remind everyone, have the hard conversation, right? We're really afraid to have the money conversation, but yet money is the #1 issue married couples argue or fight about. And when you talk about money, it's also the 2nd leading cause of divorce. And so have the hard conversation around money when you're single. Continue to have the hard conversation, and a plan when you get married centered around money. Because your mindset, your spouse's mindset is probably different, but you're going to have to communicate, compromise, and come up with a plan when you're talking about money and marriage.
All right. Okay, Dr. Harriet.
Okay, I just wanted to thank you so much, Kimberly, because I was going to talk about the communication again and how important it is. But even just the time, making sure to put the time in. We cannot grow without time. And so that means a date night. That means, saying no. We can't say yes to everything, no matter how it's, oh, this is so wonderful, and this opportunity, I can't let it go. Yes, you can. Another opportunity will come off. You can't just say yes to everything and put your spouse on the back burner. So I would just say to make sure to put that time in. Again, with your date night, your kids should know, respect mommy and daddy. If you have older ones, like I do, I have the grandkids, and, so I have to even make sure that the kids know that, no, I can't take care of the grandkids this weekend because it's dad's weekend or whatever. So again, like I said, that's my main thing. 40 years of trial and error and making lots of mistakes but growing. But I say that date night, that definitely, no matter what, keep that fire burning, and do not take your business to bed with you. If you're fussing in the daytime about that bed, about that business, when that door, you cross over your bedroom door, it's not even an issue.
Amen.
Right.
That's good.
That's good.
All right. Oksana?
I was actually leaning more towards the direction of what Dr. Harriet just talked about. But what I was going to say is, and this is not just, for couples that are in business together, of course, but those who, even if you're an entrepreneur, if anybody's an entrepreneur in the family, if you're both, working a lot, whatever the case may be. But my advice would be to develop a habit of being consistent and disciplined when it comes to budgeting. And I don't just mean money, but I mean your time. Making sure that you are intentional about where you invest your time, not just together, but also individually, having that space to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, that you're, cleaning out yourself mentally. So you have that alone time and, just having, time to yourself, period. But also making sure that you plan for each other, that you plan time with the family, and making sure that you develop those habits early on. Because a lot of people think that, when I get there, then I'll do this. But no, whatever you do now is what's going to be magnified later. So develop those habits now.
Wow. That is amazing. Everyone has pretty much covered the topics that I was going to talk about, but there are 3 points that I started thinking about. And Kimberly knows I like to talk about my P's. So my first one is just making sure that you focus on the priorities for your marriage. I call it priority over majority, meaning the priorities for your marriage may be different from what the majority of the world is doing. Even when it comes down to our business, we tend to sometimes drop what we're doing because everyone else is running to Clubhouse or running to this in their business. Everybody else is doing that. You need to focus on what's your priority and get clear with God. Okay, what is that I'm supposed to be working on, and focus on that and make that a priority. The second one is just making sure that you position your marriage and your business for success. A lot things are not going to just drop out of the sky. A lot of us, even as believers, we're decreeing and we're declaring, but are we acting and executing what's going to help take our business to the next level? What's going to help take our marriage to the next level? Because it's not going to fix itself. If there's a challenge, you're going to have to do something. And my third thing is, learn when to pivot. Because we're not the same person that we were when we first got married. You could be different 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 10 years from now. So constantly do a check-in and recognize what areas do we need to pivot in. This is my purpose. My purpose initially, or what I thought was pharmacy, was healthcare. But as I've gotten older, we're 27 years in now. Now God is shifting me to entrepreneurship. So I had to learn how to pivot, and also had to learn how that pivot was going to impact my marriage, and have those conversations to make sure we understand, okay, this is the season that we're going into. This is what we need to do so I can accomplish my goals. You can accomplish your goals. So that way we can be successful, not only in our marriage, but in our business as well. So I just wanted to take a moment and thank each and every one of you ladies for taking the time out just to pour into our viewers. You guys are amazing. Make sure that each one of you stay connected with the ladies. I believe everyone talked about their platform, so you'll know how to follow them, and we can all continue to connect and collaborate, because we are really going to have a huge impact on marriages, on business owners, and those that are generating generational wealth. So thank you again for joining us for the Millionaire Power Couple Summit, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.